Dynamic of the lead out, you really had to have an extra body or two, and Justin Williams called it perfect by going a little further back and letting those guys burn out in front of him.
All right, well, it looks like we are getting ourselves underway here, in fact, with our Friday night of racing here at Blue Dome. Weather conditions tonight, 90 degrees and a little bit of wind rushing around the course. Throughout the afternoon, the wind has affected our races. Our women are now on course, and we are racing live right now for our St. Francis Tulsa Tough Friday night in Blue Dome. Everybody very anxious to get on course, it seems, as we are racing right now and putting ourselves into a great evening. Looks like right now our Schneider sisters, it looks like Skylar Schneider on the front with that distinctive gold helmet is on the front, and her sister Samantha right there. We think the smaller team sizes this year are going to have an impact on this year's St. Francis Tulsa Tough, because last year the Legion Super Team really dominated this race from the start to the finish. This year that will change. In the off-season, the Williams Racing Development Program shuffled the deck with our Schneider sisters moving off of the Legion of Los Angeles program onto the Miami Blazers. They did leave the Ryan sisters on Legion of Los Angeles. And so we will see a difference in the dynamic for our women's field just from those two teams alone. However, we are going to be seeing many other teams coming to the front.
Please.
Andrea Sear on the front right now. As you can see, she is one of our riders to watch. And in that Stars and Stripes jersey, that's the U23 champion, Chloe Patrick, now racing for Siniska.
Now, Patrick will be easy to spot in this race because she is your reigning national champion.
So our field coming by us here at the booth as they come by the start-finish line past our neutral pit, and already gaps are starting to open up at the back of this field, already proving just how fast and hard this race is. One of the things that we learned last night at Ride with the Pros with our interviews with riders is that the dynamic so far has in fact shifted to be much harder overall. Well, I was just talking a little bit about the Williams Racing shuffling of the deck. We also saw the NCL League unable to continue this season, and that meant a number of riders in very late in the off-season moved themselves on to new programs, and therefore we saw big changes in our team overall dynamic. We're going to see the benefits of that because honestly the racing has been a lot more exciting this season because of this change in dynamic. Over the past 3 weeks' time, in fact, in the build-up to tonight's St. Francis Tulsa Tough Friday night at Blue Dome, we started off in Easton and Somerville, and then we moved to the Armed Forces Cycling Classic, and then culminating here. Throughout the past 3 weeks, we have seen different winners on different days in different conditions. And moving back even further into the springtime races, again, we saw different teams taking on the onus of our leadership roles. So this has been a very exciting 2024 season, Daniel. And as I was just talking a little bit about even the beginning of these races, they can be very dynamic just to sort of try to, I think, suss out who's doing what. But from your perspective and your experience, can you talk a little bit about what happens in these first few laps and why is it important for some teams to be dominant while other teams should stay hidden and out of sight?
I mean, first of all, I got goosebumps. I'm excited. You could feel the energy here as everything's getting turned up, and now that the pro women are on course. And yeah, the overall off-season shakeup, right, is a lot of different riders moving around. Riders getting replaced after the NCL, no longer existing, and so these teams are now have a few race days of these in their legs of teams like figuring out their chemistry. I mean, as you discussed, Legion is now not the team it once was, and so there's a dispersion of abilities and talent, and they just have to figure that out. It's just feelings, and so the Legion squad, the Blazer squad, the Outlaws have had like a few little missteps as they kind of learn to reoperate with the riders they have. As you can see, Laurel Rathbun with the Legion, the new Legion kit from Ossos on the front with those green highlights. EFT Goldman Sachs behind. with Chloe Patrick, the national champion on the U23 category.
Yeah, and we see Sam Schneider right behind, and in that Trinidad and Tobago national championship kit, that would be Alexi Ramirez. Rathbun, a late addition to this Legion of Los Angeles program. And Legion actually releasing their kits last night at Ride with the Pros. Legion now in that gray kit. So as you're watching along tonight, maybe you're like, I thought Legion was in black and white. Well, in fact, now they're in the gray. They still have that blue helmet, though, so if you're watching from home, thank you for joining us, of course, but if you're trying to find out who's who by just watching throughout the screen, you're going to be looking for a gray kit with a blue helmet to find Legion of Los Angeles. Now, Laura Rathbun, she has quite the background. I was speaking with her last night at Ride with the Pros. She used to race for United Healthcare. She was on Exergy way back in the day. I believe she's also been on the Velodrome more recently. What's her background right now?
Yeah, so when she was on United Healthcare, she had a really bad crash, and she's had nerve damage in one of her arms, and so yeah, she stepped away from the sport a little bit, took some time, and now is super motivated to get back. She was on a para tandem as a pilot, trying to get to Paris in that capacity, and that road just kind of ended. And so with her personality and her ability, she was able to kind of pivot and find a spot and fill a gap that actually Legion really kind of needs. This big, strong rider like her to just kind of manage the field, chase anything back and really take some pressure off of Kendall and Alexis.
You also have Ureli Salazar, an Olympian from Mexico. She's very accomplished on both the velodrome and on the road, and I believe they also have former World Tour rider with them from Jamaica, also making up that program, Lori Sharp. And so Sharp, Salazar, and Rathbun. Now, DNA Pro Cycling, that is Riley McMullen. She's a former New Zealand national champion for Criteriums in 2023. McMullen, definitely a rider to watch. And now we're seeing LA Sweat also intermixing into the front. Ariel Coy for them over the past few weeks has been very proactive in their races, and it's been great to see, and nice to see the Siniska orange shoulders. Last season, Daniel, Catherine Sarkisov here in Tulsa had a great overall, right? So she was 4th in Blue Dome, 4th in the Arts District, 5th at Crybaby. She ended up 3rd overall behind Samantha Schneider even. And Sarkisov is really very young. I mean, she's still, I think, 19 years old. Let's talk about the next gen even as we're sort of sussing out what's going on here. How important is it for a young rider like Sarkisov and Patrick to really prove themselves at an event like St. Francis Tulsa Tough?
Yeah, I mean, it's a launching pad. I launched my career here at 19 years old at Tulsa Tough, so it's the perfect platform for them to be ultra consistent and put themselves to the pointy end of these races to show that they've earned the respect. They have the ability, to not only get 4th but win. And only a couple things need to go right for them to go from 4th to 2nd or 4th to 1st, in these races. And so there's no time like the present, and opportunities now this year, especially with how the field is laid out. The spread out of talent opens that door for them to take a couple risks, put themselves really far forward, take a chance, and find themselves on the top step.
CCB now coming to the front with Kate Seiler, I believe. Kate, a collegiate national champion. I believe she also has some other accolades to her name. Some of her teammates include Cassie Hickey, the current collegiate national road race national champion. So in the collegiate ranks, CCB, presented by Levine Law, have done quite well. In these races, sort of the next step up. They've been trying to work through some of their inner team dynamics, but it seems really nice to see those pink shoulders of CCB on the front right now with Kate Seiler and the rest of them. You see a little bit, thanks to this Helmeric and Payne drone shot, there's going to be a washing machine effect on the back straight. So we're told by the athletes so far that on the back straight, coming into what is now turn 7, and now they're entering turn 8, it's a big headwind. Daniel, talk to us what it's like racing into that headwind on a long straightaway. What happens in that field dynamic?
Yeah, so right now, if the wind stays as it is, going into 7, the second to last corner with a block headwind, is that you can't go early, right? You're going to need an extra body for the lead out than if it was as a tailwind. And so it's going to play to that little bit patient rider, or to that team that has that little bit of extra strength to carry, to really accelerate into the last 2 corners rather than get halfway or 70% down that straightaway and all of a sudden find themselves fatigued too early and let that rush of riders who's been in the draft, come over the top into those last 2 corners. So it's going to be something that a lot of the riders are going to be clearly noticing when they're at the front. You're going to be seeing it and feeling it from 20 wheels back, that all of a sudden the front is just going to kind of have this deceleration at certain points in that backstretch. And then they're also going to have, preems throughout and point sprints throughout this race to kind of test, what does that feel like? Where's my lead out need to start? Where does my sprint need to start? Where do I need to be to win, coming out of that final corner? Is it fourth wheel? Is it third wheel? It's surely not going to be first wheel coming into 7 and 8 that's going to win these races.
Right now we're seeing Andrea Sear for Goldman Sachs ETFs. Last year, Sear was second in the ACC overall. She is clearly working for Paula Munoz if she's putting herself in the wind this early. For me, watching this from the sidelines, I guess I would have expected the rest of the ETFs program to do the work now. They have Taylor Cook-White. They have also Olympic gold medalist and 5-time world champion on the ice. Excuse me if I didn't get that pronunciation correct, but she is an absolute workhorse. And Sear, normally, is she not a finisher for herself and in these teams?
Yeah, I would expect her to be one of the protected riders throughout the weekend. So seeing her so far forward so early, like fully in the wind, a little bit of a surprise. But again, just getting towards the front, staying out of kind of any, just hustling and bustling and getting too far back. But also, if the pace is off, going and riding through those last 2 corners like we just kind of discussed with the wind, what does it feel like? She's getting a little bit of feedback from the course in maybe a not so crucial moment, just to know what it feels like exactly, to go back and give feedback or plan for the finish of the race.
Fearless Femmes now coming to the front. Now, this is a program that has historically drawn athletes out of Australia. I believe this is Claudia Marks on the front, the current elimination national champion on the track. Elimination is a very unique event to the velodrome. We maybe won't get into that right now, but Daniel certainly has a lot of experience with that on the velodrome. Marks, the current Australian national champion in that event. Now, she has Sophia Sutton, who in this program, she also has Grace Arlinson racing with her. Fearless Femme, I like their odds, but I also like seeing them mixing it up. Ella Sibley also racing with this program this season. Fearless Femme could be one to keep an eye on later on, but also, Daniel, what I'm witnessing right now, a number of different teams cycling at the front and trying to contribute to the pace setting. I find that to be notably different than 2023 here at the Blue Dome, where I recalled Legion of Los Angeles getting most of the onus of pace setting early on. Yeah,
just parking it at the front, the whole team together, just staking their claim at the front and letting everybody else just kind of fight behind them. So yeah, we've seen now, Laurel from Legion up there. We've seen Kim Lucci with Michaela McPherson up there from DNA briefly. Siniska, La Sweat now. So it's good to see the teams kind of rotating through, figuring out their pace. But, I really want to start seeing some attacks soon. You could see...
that's Ariel Clyde, or is that Emily Flynn, maybe?
That looks like Ariel. But, again, I'd like to see these really big injections of pace, not just going to the front and setting a strong tempo. We really need to start seeing some big attacks and big changes of paces to see if we can't get some gaps. And just maybe a little bit starting to open up. So Sam Schneider, Laurel, from Legion.
It's also telling a bit when a rider like Ariel Coy here from the Indianapolis area goes to the front, and look who follows it. Schneider, Rathbun, right? Like, these are riders that know who is dangerous. They're going to respond when necessary, and the fact that they immediately jumped on that is pretty telling. But you're right, like, little tiny gaps are starting to open, and if you're here in Tulsa, the flags are actually starting to really lift right now. We're definitely getting a gusty moment here in our in our riders. Looks like in the pit we have Jamaican national champion Lori Sharp getting herself a flat tire fix from her Legion mechanics. We'll see if we can get some eyes on that in the pit right now. Meanwhile, back in the race, you'll see Ureli Salazar in the Legion kit lining up next to the field. It seems to me, Daniel, that also what we're seeing is riders are about 3 across right now, and I think they're coming into block headwind. So this wind seems to be a factor in this evening.
Yeah, it's definitely slowing the front, especially after that big injection of pace still at the front. When you get into the headwind, you're just not inclined to stay on the pedals and push all that wind. So naturally, the middle of the group is going to carry momentum forward. But, you know, Ariel Coy just did that big attack from Le Sweat. I'd like to see her teammates back her up in counterattack.
Right.
Or a DNA that wasn't necessarily in that original move, counterattack. You know, and we saw just in that quick half-lap move that a gap did open, right? They didn't fully everybody commit to it, but we can see when there's a big injection of pace, it's creating some gaps, and you just need some organization. And for that whole group that happens to get that gap, needs to start rotating and put some pressure on the teams that did miss out.
All right, so Lori Sharp getting thrown in here. Your Jamaican national champion. She was on Canyon SRAM last year. That's a World Tour team that races in Europe. Sharp now racing with us here in the U.S.
Yeah, now we got Holly Breck at the front for DNA, taking up some pace setting. Here comes one.
I like DNA a lot with their depth of strength. They have a good finisher with both McMullen and McPherson. But we'd like to see them really leverage each other a little bit more. But tell me a little bit about why we're seeing just individuals from teams coming to the front and doing some of this, what I would consider tempo riding. It's hard to tell exactly how hard it is right now because of these wind conditions. So we're not necessarily seeing single file, so this may be a very hard effort. I'm just wondering why different teams are cycling through the front right now.
Yeah, we can just kind of see with the wind conditions is that, you know, the tailwind keeps everybody in place because it's so fast and it's a big effort to move up in the tailwind. And then, you know, you get to the headwind, all of a sudden it's very easy to get in that washing machine to restructure, you know, for those people that just kind of come back to front to find a spot. And so we're seeing, yeah, quite a few of those it mixing up a bit, but not, you know, aggressive tactics right now to try to find a small gap. And then it's looking... Everybody's got a sprinter, right? Goldman Sachs, Heidi Praderis, she can go. You know, Le Sweat, Ariel Coy, she can go. Legion, Kendall Ryan. Blazers, Skylar and Sam Schneider.
Yep.
So it's with how many teams now have really fast finishers, you know, the direction is going to be pushed into that field sprint type tactic. But you still, if you have the depth, if you have the roster, that 4th, 5th, 6th rider, you do need to, you know, create a little bit of chaos, go off the front, make some of these other teams that don't have the depth chase and expend some energy rather than just kind of being able to really tuck in, especially in a headwind, to sit in and save a lot of energy.
This is Stephanie Holomack on the front right now, former winner of the Easton Twilight Crit last year. She's now, since that time, she was unattached. Now, with that result, she jumped onto LA Sweat and last season, and then she was picked up by Goldman Sachs for this entire season. Stephanie living in Brooklyn, New York, working full-time with children and still coming out and showing us what's what on the front of our pro bike race this evening at St. Francis Tulsa Tough.
Yeah, I mean, there's just the peloton the women's peloton is incredible. I mean, with the Schneider sisters, right, own a bakery, successful. So they race bikes and train, but they also own a business they started. Andrea Sear, medical doctor. Ariel Coy, right, in medical school, becoming a doctor. Yeah. The off-the-bike activities and ability is quite amazing. They come out also here and are the best in the country as well.
Yeah, I had the honor and privilege of calling the Collegiate National Road Championships in Albuquerque, New Mexico a few weeks ago, and the course loads that some of these kids are taking and racing super fast on very hard courses was very commendable. So I think there's a lot of depth that's being represented here, both physically and academically, which we love to see in the professional careers as they move through our sport. But here we are, St. Francis Tulsa Tough, Friday Night Blue Dome. Stephanie Holomack now has been on the front for quite a bit. You can see her looking around, And let's see, possibly looking for her director on the sidelines at some point. There we are. We're seeing the Goldman Sachs ETF team director with the radio speaking in, giving her a little bit of advice right now as Skylar Schneider comes over the top as we come by us here at the neutral pit where our team directors are stationed.
Yeah, and the directors are just kind of giving feedback of like, oh, this rider might be in this part of the field, you know, like it's, hey, the Blazers are a little far back, the Legion team is far back, you know, just because you can't ride too long without, you can kind of glance over your shoulder and look back and get a quick peek what's around you within like a 10-foot bubble, but you can't, you know, ride with your head way turned back and look for long periods of time to really suss things out. So directors are just passing along that information, just kind of, hey, you know, maybe change position. Hey, here's where some other riders are at, or, you know, hey, we're 2 laps from a sprint point, you know, because sometimes you do get a little lost on the laps, especially as we race kind of on time before laps come out. So just small little facts and everything else as races come along is the information they're kind of passing along.
Okay. DNA Pro Cycling coming through, and now Siniska rotating through on the front and trying to keep the pace high. We did see a little bit of a single file. Now with this Hallmark and Payne drone shot, we are seeing the field really starting to stretch out a little bit. Seems like we're in a moment of acceleration, but now as we come into this block headwind, you see that mushroom effect behind the pointy end of the race as CCB on the front there momentarily looked like Salazar there on the outside, taking over pace setting with those gray jerseys. It looks like we actually may have 2 Legion of Los Angeles riders. We can't forget about Alexis Magner, who is in that program at the front. There she is. So Ureli Salazar with the Mexican National Championship bands on her sleeves. And then we have Alexis Magner, second wheel there. That's a winner of the Athens Twilight Criterium this year and last year. And right behind her is her sister, Kendall Ryan. This is Izzy Harden coming over the top in that white kit for Work Hard, Be Humble. Harden, a full-time student at Piedmont University, excuse me. So Harden now on the front for Work Hard, Be Humble. Harden is actually a very good sprinter, poppy sprinter. She wins races in the Southeast a bit, and she's really just trying, I think, probably trying to get herself into a good spot. Hey, big thanks to Quick Trip for sponsoring our broadcast this year. Quick Trip has a whole bunch of locations here, and some of our locals even have favorite store numbers that they go to frequently and let you know which store number they're at. So big thanks to Quick Trip for coming out, and to all of you that have your favorite Quick Trip store, be sure to thank them for their support of the St. Francis Tulsa Tough.
And Ariel Coy back at it again, not wanting to sit around. And look at, I mean, just with such an explosive effort, just immediately get some space.
Yeah, that's nice to see. Siniska right on that move. That's number 19. We're going to try and get ourselves some official start sheets here, but look at this. So it looks like Coy, Siniska, Sharp, Rathbun, and then Patrick in this move together. That's Julian Aguila from Miami Blazers, trying to bridge across to it to represent that program. So Julian now going to maybe make contact, and Aguila has now made contact behind. The chase is on from the field by DNA. DNA missed this move. Rathbun on the front though, and she is marked by Chloe Patrick as we try to poke through our pace car vehicle there. Ariel Coy leaving a little bit of space, but Coy looking very comfortable with this move right now. A little separation here. I think we're still safe though. That field is right there. So gaps starting to open, but they are not significant enough to necessarily warrant any danger. And as they come by us here, that's actually Riley McMullen, your former New Zealand national champion, that is bringing this field all back together.
Yeah, and then now, you know, the Jamaican rider has been dispatched, and McMullen is losing ground on the field, and you can see Laurel is just putting the pace down, and this is super good for Alexis and Kendall. Now puts really a lot of the pressure on DNA and Miami, that have now missed the move to be present to get up there and do work and set chase. So yeah, see, and this is like a rider that Legion was missing, that's now in the fold, that can just get in this move and just turn on the gas. And you know, she's basically going to be instructed, like, let it hang, just put it all out there for 5 laps, see where that puts us, and then get some direction. Is the gap still at 7 seconds? She's got to stay on the gas still to keep that pressure on. Does it just blow out to 20 seconds? Okay, hey, here's the next plan. But this is really good. I don't know why Chloe Patrick's not going to rotate. She's got a teammate with her.
Right. That's what I don't. So, so Chloe Patrick and Siniska. So Siniska putting 2 into this move. Daniel and I, we have a podcast together called The Call Up. We actually started it last year here at the St. Francis Tulsa Tough. If you ever listened to that, we talk a lot about committing to the breakaway. This is a moment in time where you've got to commit if you want that move to work. Nobody can sit on at this point. We've established over the year of talking about bike races from here to everywhere else that there's sort of this like 6-minute threshold of commitment. And if you're not really willing to commit to that, you will probably be brought back. Here we are. It has been caught. Now the counter comes, and it looks like
Mariana Valdez from La Suette.
Nice move there by Valdez.
Very good. And she's got Alexis Ryan with her.
Oh, okay. So Alexis Ryan marking Valdez. Valdez taking a win in Belgium at a Kermesse a few weeks ago. Oh, no, that's Jessie Bonilla. Yeah, so that's Jessica Bonilla from Mexico as well. And she is joined by...
Yeah, it's Alexis.
Alexis, okay.
Yeah, and so this is, super good. Alexis is going to be motivated to work again. It's protecting Kendall in the back. But now we have good representation with Blazers, DNA, and Chloe Patrick following that up to make that move. And, yeah, you've got to commit for that 5-minute window because if you don't, the chase back to the move is too easy, right? It's not, it's you wasting the energy out front, right, and making it too easy for the field to come back to you, and therefore you're emptying your tank at a faster rate than the peloton. You want that to be opposite. You want it to be get it away, work well together, and have the field just take these big efforts and not make up any ground because you're smooth. But now that group of 5 is all together with basically everybody.
We got a good representation. We got Legion with Magner. We have Miami represented with Sam Schneider, who's on very good form. That looks like Michaela McPherson from DNA.
Or Holly Breck, I think.
I don't know. We'll see in a second. No, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's Holly. And then Chloe Patrick. And the field is barrier to barrier. And Kingdom Elite has missed it in trying to bridge across. And it's good. Solo move, go fast. And you had Sinsica there that didn't need to follow. They've got their champ up the road, and it's okay to put one more in that move. That's extra horsepower for that break to stay away.
Yeah, and I believe I saw Kate Seiler from CCB on the front of the field on a different camera trying to bring that back. So we're going to see Breck, Patrick, Magner, and Bonilla, and Schneider.
But they've got to work. They've got to rotate. Yeah.
Look at this Magner now attacking this group as she comes out of turn 1, now into turn 2. Alexis Magner, your winner at Athens Orthopedic Twilight 2 years in a row, now attacking this group, going solo. Again, right now, I think if I understood you from earlier, this is a move actually to protect Kendall from further back. However, Alexis can sprint herself, can she not?
Oh, I mean, she's as rapid as anybody. When you're one of the best, when you're the last lead-out person, right, you have to be rapid. You have to be good. You're just missing that 3% that your pure sprinter has, really, 5%. And so she's pretty good, and she's got, leans into like a little bit just bigger, high-sustained engine, right, which when she's in a breakaway or solo, just absolutely danger woman to give her too much of a leash.
Wow, I'm sorry. Time flies here. I just realized we're 28 minutes into this race, and this is actually the point that we've seen in a lot of races this season when moves start to snap off, if they're going to snap off. And in our pre-race show today, when we recorded another episode of the Call Up podcast, we talked about how we expected this race to come down to a field sprint.
Yeah.
Right now, we're looking at potentially a breakaway situation.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in the Cat 3 men's race today, solo winner, long sustained breakaways in the other categories, and it's just with the wind, it's testing the field, right, and picking those moments, and sometimes it gives the break ability to get a big leash as the field tries to figure out how to chase it back in the conditions. But when you're a solo rider and you get a block headwind for 8 or half the course, it makes it really hard to carry momentum and stay on the gas, especially as we look at, from the last corner to corner 1, that's uphill. It's 1-2%, and then there's a last little bit of kick that goes up to 3 or 4%. So it definitely stings the legs, but luckily there's a tailwind to help nullify that.
All right, so Magner, to me, looking like she's riding about 60% as she came through, which tells me that she saw her gap wasn't really significant to fully commit to, and that looks like Kingdom Elite
Shannon Koch does the bridge with Laurel. So Alexis now has a teammate or just somebody to replace her off the front. And now she can just rest the legs if she doesn't have the ability to quite get on. But then there's Skylar following that back up with Holomek and a Butcher Box rider.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. I know Butcher Box come into the front. We haven't talked about them at all yet this evening, 29 minutes into racing. They have a few good finishers with Bennett and Agnew, and looks like Andrea Sear also paying attention up at the front now. So all of our riders paying attention. We now have a single file race tonight as we are starting to turn the screws here, Daniel. This is starting to become a very pointy race.
Yeah, and we just seen action for the last 5-6 minutes. There's accumulated fatigue. The attacks need to keep flying if you're one of those riders that needs a breakaway, a small group to come out the front. Don't let too much recovery happen and let those people that are out of position from the back of the field get into position, or if they are, they just need to spend energy to get back. So keep the pressure on if you're a team or a rider that, kind of needs a smaller group rather than the bunch finish to be successful.
All right, so we've been brought all back together courtesy of a little bit of block headwind on that turn coming into turn 7. We're now entering turn 8. And should we see a counter move from this that could continue to stretch it? However, we're starting to see just a little bit of tempo set. That's going to be relief for the riders in the draft. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it just, Goldman Sachs with the full team, it looks like, or that's still Shannon Koch still in the front. Putting that on, but we just need to continued counterattacks from the likes of DNA that has the depth, maybe LeSuet who kind of missed that last move to go on the attack, or potentially a fearless Fem rider. Maybe Grace can poke herself off the front when everybody's tired, draw out some riders, and who left to chase.
This is actually playing back into the favor of riders like Kendall Ryan, is it not?
Yeah, into the pure speedsters, it definitely kind of goes back into their hand. That way.
Who is this? Maybe Brittany Parfait, perhaps? It looks like a Kingdom rider to me, and another CCB trying to cover it. So we're going to see another acceleration here. Perhaps this will be another expansion of the elastic on the front of this race with Kingdom trying to really punch it. And we have Kate Seiler, their second wheel. Kate's having a very good night. She's covering things on top of everything. And we see a Goldman Sachs ETF rider. Field's still together, but it is single file. This is a moment that hurts if you're sort of midfield and on your heels.
Yep. And LeSuet coming on the inside, hopefully for another counterattack to keep the pace on.
Yeah, this is the perfect moment, I think, to just snap it and just hit it hard, right?
Yeah, just keep it going, keep the pace high, and let those out of position, those tired riders create those gaps naturally. But Goldman Sachs back on the attack with a LeSuet rider. That might be...
I didn't catch it. I was looking at our start sheet, or at our registration sheet here with Ivani Blondin and Audrey Drummond, who are racing with us this evening. That looks like, that's our Olympian there. That is going to be Ivani Blondin from Canada. She's an Olympic gold medalist, a 5-time world champion in speed skating. Absolutely somebody to watch in our sport. This is her first year racing bikes, and she is on the front of our pro women's race. Great to have an Olympic champion racing with us this evening. Field comes by us. We're going to hit London setting good tempo here, but in this race, this is not a local event. You can't just ride people off your wheel. You've got the best of the best here tonight, and you can see the riders coasting. You see Jessie Bonilla. You see Sky Schneider there dousing herself with water. Skylar doing a great job staying very composed and trying to keep herself cool. How important is it for a rider to keep their body temperature regulated on a day like today?
I mean, it's super important, right? Like, as we ride a bike and create power, energy expenditure, right? We're like 70% of the power is your body's a radiator, right? So it's creating heat, and to be efficient, you need to dump that heat as much as possible. The human body's not super efficient at being a radiator, so you just need to help it any way you can by staying cool, and pouring water on the skin enhances evaporative cooling, right? It just, that water coming off your skin is pulling it off and helping your body be a radiator. You know, before these races, right, putting ice in your pockets over your kidneys and high blood flow areas, keeping cool, your hands cool, your feet cool, anything. Yeah, because once your body temperature comes up, it's not like one of these things. It's not like your heart rate where you go hard, you know, and heart rate spikes, and then if you rest, heart rate comes down. It's like once your body temperature is up, it's up. It stays there. You have to like fully, you know, drink cold water, AC, cold shower, and your body temperature comes down very, very slow. So once it's up there and it overheats, you're in for a long, long day.
Kingdom Elite attacking off the front right now. We're going to try to get an ID of this rider for you if we can. But we also saw a response. Looks like Goldman Sachs ETFs here in the pits, trying to keep an eye on things. That's Alexis Magner bringing back that one rider from Kingdom Elite with Siniska paying attention here this evening. They're riding very well. I suspect they're going to try and keep this thing together for either Patrick or Catherine Sarkisov. Sarkisov having a very good St. Francis Tulsa Tough race block last year. So we'll see if she can get there again. Here we have another counterattack. This could be Brittany Parfrey as she comes by us here at the start-finish, or through these final turns. And we're just trying to get some IDs on our riders. We just apologize that we don't quite have that for you at the moment. But this is Kingdom Elite off the front right now. Love seeing Kingdom Elite countering their own move. So what we just witnessed here in the past minute of racing, Kingdom was on the front. They were stretching it out. Magner brought it back together. An immediate counterattack into turn 3 was this rider, number 29, for them. And it looks like DNA is responding to that perhaps. And now it looks like Ariel Coy of LA Sweat is getting there. Samantha Schneider getting there. Laurel Rathbun also responding to this. And Andrea Sear for Goldman Sachs getting herself up into contention.
And just look at the damages it's causing. This is a big learning from Kingdom Elite. Like as we watched that team progress, very slow to counterattack each other, very slow to react to the race. And now they're just back on it, right? They're on the front foot instead of the back foot, causing chaos in the race. And look at it, it's just getting splintered. You have DNA following with Kim Lucci. You have Ariel Coy there. You have Sam Schneider, Laurel Rathbun, Andrea Sear, Taylor Cook-White, it looks like, potentially.
Potentially, but this
no, that is a Fearless Femme rider there.
This is Kelly. I'm sorry. I was just going to note, this is Kelly Samuelson, the team director for LA Sweat, trying to give them a little bit of intel. This is LA Sweat's 10th year of racing, actually, so nice to have a long-standing program with us. But this is Kim Lucci on the front. Lucci winning the points jersey last year for the ACC. That jersey actually doesn't exist anymore, to note. The ACC did away with the distinctive points jersey in favor of making intermediate sprint points contribute towards the overall GC. Daniel and I think that's a really good move for a cumulative series long event.
Yeah, it can allow for a lot of point swings to happen as points accumulate. Somebody can be super aggressive and change their overall kind of point standing like pretty quickly in a race. So it makes everybody be quite attentive. Whereas sometimes in a points competition, somebody can kind of, get on a run and just kind of get such a commanding lead that it's, nearly impossible and kind of nullifies that action. So those points going to the overall series can help really move somebody from 10th to 5th or 5th to 2nd. And so everybody has to be on those toes when people are accumulating points. So I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, this is the opening race of the 2024 season for the American Criterium Cup. It's a season-long Criterium series starting here at the St. Francis Tulsa Tough. It will finish at the Gateway Cup race in September. So follow along at AmericanCritCup.com. Tonight we are at St. Francis Tulsa Tough, Friday Night Blue Dome for Critmas Eve, as they like to call it. And here we see more attacking, more sprints. This must be an intermediate sprint for our ACC points as we come to the line. Lucci,
that's Riley McMullen.
You're right, yeah.
With
Riley.
Holly Breck.
Nice.
Right there with her.
So DNA clearly focusing on their ACC points, and McMullen now scoring those intermediate sprint points. She will move herself into a potential leadership position for the ACC, but the final result for tonight will also impact that, of course, with finishing points far outweighing intermediate sprint points.
But you get those points, it allows you, again, to you can pad your points a little bit. So if you have an off day, right, you can make up the bad day where you get 12th. It kind of comes in at a 6th or a 5th or something like that. So, and it also helps you, just stay at the front, at the top of that standings for the overall series throughout the whole year. So that's long-term thinking from the DNA program.
That's great to see. So we have a little bit of a reset now. After this sprint, I imagine the fatigue is setting in. The gold helmet on the left side of our screen, that'd be Skylar Schneider. She's been patrolling a bit over the past few laps.
Watching, quiet, but present.
And that's a mark of a pro. As far as I'm concerned.
Just kind of staying calm. It's, us from the outside watching it, it's, showing us a few of her cards on what she's thinking about, how she's racing, coming towards, the end of the race. It's saying, hey, we don't see the gold helmet at the front continually, saving the legs. We also not seen Kendall, right? Very similar mindset, just thinking about the end of the race. Michaela McPherson, we haven't seen too much of her coming towards the end of the race. So 3 names that we are definitely going to be talking about the last couple of laps.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're watching this at home, you're very familiar with the concept that if we don't say your name very much in a bike race, that actually improves your odds for your finish result. So we'll see who's there. Holly Simonson, your Canadian national champion, now coming to the front. She races for LA Sweat. Great to have Holly joining us this evening, and another national championship kit in the mix this evening. Holly on the front setting tempo. Now Ariel Coy, I believe, would be one of their finishers, and here's Kelly Samuelson going to give them a little bit of feedback as they come by the neutral pit.
Yeah, and Kelly does a really good job communicating with her riders, giving them updates, encouragement, and just kind of, plan A, plan B type thing.
So I imagine LA Sweat will try and keep the pace moving here, as it looks like this is a refeed moment in the field. I saw 3 or 4 different bottles come up out of the bottle cages, and hydration being a forefront as this moment of respite occurs in the field. Riders taking the opportunity to hydrate themselves. This is almost the final refueling opportunity for us, as we're looking at just under 20 minutes of racing to go here. So
yeah, and that's the time window when you take on nutrition, something like carbohydrates, caffeine, that it's about the absorption window. So anything kind of any more time than this, you're going to take carbohydrates and gel, and it's just not going to get into your system to be active for that final sprint. So that is very much the window for gels, last second quick sugar to get into the system, to have that little bit of quick fuel the last part of the race.
Jessie Bonilla now coming to the front for LA Sweat. Mariana Valadez definitely could be one to watch. She's on the left side of your screen, a little further back towards the fence. Bonilla on the front right now, just trying to keep this thing moving. They do not want this to slow down too much, because that'll make it harder for Valadez to position herself up near the front.
Yeah, and it's 18 minutes to go. You just kind of want to start formulating your teams, riding as a unit, and just kind of letting teams know that you're organizing, that you're just kind of claiming your space. And it doesn't have to be at the front for it to be effective. You can do it, kind of middle of the group or off to the side in the front third. But you want to just start getting organized. So as chaos starts to unfold, anything happens, you're surrounded by teammates. You guys can work together and keep your A rider in the position, spending as little energy as possible the last 15 minutes here.
Simonson now still on the front. Julian Aguila also there for Miami Blazers, keeping a check on things. Legion of Los Angeles not far behind, and the national championship kit of Chloe Patrick, U23 national champion, to clarify. Michaela McPherson actually on the wheel there. Notably, those two have won a national championship together as Madison partners on the velodrome. So they do know each other quite well, and perhaps that will play into some later tactics in the next sort of 12 to 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, and 2 other riders we haven't mentioned that much is the Butcher Bucks riders, Jillian Bennett and Caitlin Agnew.
Yeah.
So just biding their time, and if that duo, they were on just the cusp last year, very much of, kind of cracking the code. And so if these two get together and kind of one makes that move for the other, they are ones to watch.
Thank you to James Grady, our stagehand here this evening, for helping us out, by the way. We have Siniska now, number 19 this evening has been Cara O'Neill, and Cara O'Neill's had a really great race covering a number of different things for Siniska, being a very good workhorse for that program. I wanted to call her out earlier, but we are now able to do so, and now coming through the line, we're racing for Work Hard, Be Humble, looks like Izzy Harden back onto the front. I'm surprised to see Harden on the front right now. You'd expect her to hide out a little bit longer.
I mean, she might be taking care of her teammate. You know, the roles might be reversed. They might got halfway through this thing, 40 minutes in, and say, hey, you know, I'm just having that and don't feel sharp. How do you feel? I feel good. Okay, let me take the work on and protect you, keep you out of the wind as they get toward the end of this.
Lori Sharp now on the front, our Jamaican national champion, coming by us here at the neutral pit. Right behind her, number 2 with the gold helmet, that's going to be Skylar. So remember, Skylar was on Legion, but Lori and Skylar were not teammates at this time. So even though they are from the same sort of Williams Racing family, and Schneider being traded over to the Blazers program in the offseason, they have never been teammates. And so perhaps there's not as much insight as you might think between those two. CCB's getting themselves into the mix there. Let's try to focus in on our field here. And DNA starting to amass themselves. So Michaela McPherson is the smaller rider on the right side, talking to Riley McMullen, the blonde rider, there on the left. And from the outside, Alexis Magner and Kendall Ryan went from mid-pack to the front right now with just about 14 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, and with Laurel just taking up the front there, I mean, she's just a strong rider to kind of go up there and set a good tempo and keep Alexis and Kendall kind of out of that washing machine, out of those little micro accelerations that you really want to avoid and not do this far into the race. You kind of want to just, as a sprinter, flatten your power, kind of recover and coast as much as possible.
And now we're seeing Sam Schneider in the white helmet and Skylar Schneider in the gold helmet from Blazers lining up behind Rathman and Magner. So organization clearly coming to the fold. And in the Trinidad and Tobago National Championship kit there for Blazers, that would be Alexi Ramirez. Looks like Ramirez is riding what I would consider a sweep position. Can you talk about what a sweep position might be for those who don't know?
Yeah, she's just placing herself behind Skylar, and what that does is just put a body between Skylar's rear wheel and somebody from another team, and that just, a trusted rider on the wheel so somebody doesn't get into Skylar's rear derailleur, any chance of, making contact with Skylar and getting her in any kind of trouble. So it's just creating space. We see that in the Grand Tours, the GC leaders, Pogacar, Bernal, etc., are 3 guys from the back of the field, and they got 2 guys behind them. Again, it's just to keep their leaders out of trouble and make sure nobody else is hitting their bike, hips, anything else, and being involved in a crash or an incident. Creating
space. Now let's see where Kendall is. Kendall's got the national championship stripes, so she is next to Sharp, and Kendall's hitting about 8th to 10th wheel right now, hiding out, and look who's behind her. It's U23 national champion Chloe Patrick. Kendall Ryan coming into tonight with a ton of huge target on her back.
Yeah, I mean, she's how many time national champion in a crit. She's won this day over and over again. It's just par for the course. It comes with the territory when you're that successful. Nobody knows how good your legs are or if they're bad. You still have a target regardless. And so you're going to have people fighting for your wheel, which is honestly a good thing, right? People are spending a lot of energy on your wheel trying to fight for it, where you're on a teammate wheel and you can just kind of stay calm and not really have to fight that much. So, Chloe's definitely got a delicate dance to dance, wanting Kendall's wheel and fighting other people for it. So she's got to be, have a lot of finesse and grace and be comfortable kind of losing the wheel and finding herself back on it as the laps kind of go in. But at some point, you got to flip the switch and go, this is my wheel. Stop bothering me. Go find somebody else or get on my wheel.
Yeah.
So again, it's that dance of when do you turn that up? When do you turn that switch on to say, I'm going to throw the elbows a little bit and protect my space versus kind of let the dance happen and lose it, gain it back, lose it, gain it back.
Kendall looking very relaxed. Her sister up near the front, and Rathbun doing a big pace set right now. This is perfect for that program. And looking at LA Sweat starting to amass on the right side of the screen. Some teams starting to come together right now with just about 11 minutes of racing to go. We're probably at lap count territory in this event right now, so we're going to start to try to get a lap count up so we can see exactly where we are with our race. Looks like about 11 laps to go, perhaps, if we're looking.
And there's Christy Gokay Smith.
What?
One of the most, she's got more laps and more race days than a majority of these riders combined. Just expert experience up here, finding herself towards the front in the last, as we get into 11 laps to go.
Yeah, and then when we start to get into single digits, we're going to really start to see who wants to start fighting for position. And I think that's why we saw Kendall being very relaxed. This is still a bunch of time for Kendall to hang. She can relax, sit. Everybody else is going to do the work. Rathman on the front right now. Schneider sisters up here near the front. Are the Schneider sisters too far too early?
Not necessarily. They're together. The pace isn't super high. They're not fighting a ton of wheels. They're single file. So as they get into, the headwind, they are in the draft, right?
Okay.
And they're staying out of those little micro fights that are happening 10, 12 back when it's 2-3 riders wide. They're just single file, calm as can be.
Okay. And then they do have the sweep of Ramirez in that Trinidad Tobago national champion. You see the riders continually checking the shoulder over and over. They know so many times over they have to watch their hip, they have to watch their blind spot. Here comes Ureli Salazar up on the outside. Salazar, bit absent at the front over the past few laps. Your Olympian from Mexico will come up to the front and continue, I believe, to help Rathbun. That shows that Legion wants this thing to stay together. Talk to us a little bit about pacing in these final few laps as far as how fast you want to go to keep it together versus creating a situation that may hesitate and allow a breakaway to perhaps get away.
Yeah, you just ride kind of a strong tempo, and you're getting a little feedback from your teammates as they can kind of check their shoulder, saying, hey, a little more, a little less. You only have to ride as hard as you need to before people start passing. So you want to ride right on that cusp, and you want to basically, as the front rider, you can kind of take the most opportunity to coast earlier into corners as there's not much pressure, spend more time coasting out. And then as you get back on the pedals, it's more of like this long acceleration to the next corner rather than just punching it immediately out. So it's finesse. It's the best lead out. Best trains have this ability to just really finesse those type of things.
Siniska with those orange shoulders putting themselves up in front of Chloe Patrick there. So Siniska perhaps trying to get themselves. I also see Catherine Sarkisov right next to, or perhaps behind Patrick there on the right side. So the orange shoulders starting to organize. I think that's Emily Flynn for LA Sweat, putting herself in a good spot. Yet that is Flynn, number 42 here tonight.
And so her teammates just got to go find her. They've got to get linked up and kind of claim their territory. Say, hey, we're just going to sit here on the left side of the field, all four together, and just, somebody's got to take that workload. So her teammates got to get up there. Daphne and Ariel Coy, Valdez need to get up there and help Emily keep that spot. If not, it's just a wasted effort. She's out there by herself, not really helping her teammates. And
now here comes Jessie Bonilla up and around, but they're not really together quite yet. They have a few laps to get that sorted, though, as we should be coming into, this might actually be coming into 9 to go now. We've seen 11 for a bit. And who is this? Could be
Butcher Box with a flat tire. With 11 laps to go. She's got 3 laps into 6 or 7 to go, 3 laps in. So she's got time to get there. What she's got to be thinking about is not rushing to the pit, taking time to get there. Have some water now. Come in. Take this. 20 seconds to have to lower your heart rate. Right. Like just do as much as you can to kind of stay calm as she gets to the pit and let the mechanics do the work.
So that would be Rachel Canning going to the pit. It's actually 9 laps to go. 9 laps remaining right now in this race. So 9 laps to go in our race. And this is Coy on the front for LA Sweat. Here we come into the pit. And this is going to be Canning. She's going to take her time. She does get the free lap. And so neutral support will come and help her out. You see she has a rear flat tire. Coy on the front, and they're checking out Lori Sharp, keeping this thing very much in check as we are looking at our rider in the pits.
You're watching on the big screen, you're watching one of the
And so, as you all know, if you're watching this, that we do get a neutral lap here in the pit. We're going to get back to our bike race, though. This rider will get themselves into the race. Sharp on the front. Sharp on the front right now, and we're going to see a little bit of fighting going on, it seems. Like we had organization for a hot minute, and then we're seeing a little bit of a washing machine effect occur.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, Laurel kind of lost her spot, went back into the wheels to recover a little bit, or maybe they said, hey, it's too early, come off the front, save the legs, we're going to move up in a couple laps, and that just puts the onus on another team. You know, Blazers now coming to the front with Alexi Ramirez backing her up. But, you know, Le Sweat is a little, I mean, we see them riding a little bit together towards the back, but they need to get up there around Ariel and claim their position and just continue to ride as a unit, whether that's where they are now or at the front. They just kind of need to be together as we see lap cards. It's the most advantageous, you know, as the laps tick down, to just, you know, be calm, be around each other so you can communicate.
Looking at 8 laps to go now, 8 to go. We're going to see Cannon get herself back in. She'll have a hold. It looks like Kelly Samuelson from LA Sweat going to try and help Cannon get in here. Maybe not. We'll see what happens here. Either way, she's going to get herself back into the bike race with 8 laps remaining. Field coming by us here. We're starting to get a little bit more aggressive, but clearly the Blazers and Legion of Los Angeles controlling this race. They've been on the front. They've really been the ones controlling it. However, DNA Pro Cycling, they've done a nice job hiding out. Siniska also doing a nice job hiding, and a little further back behind them, that pink and blue of CCB, presented by Levine Law, also hiding out very well. That might be Cassie Hickey in the midst of all that. Hickey not doing so well here in the past few years, but now she's the Collegiate National Road Race Champion, perhaps giving her a little bit of confidence in some of these races. She's also, I believe, a cyclocross racer as well, so she's maybe comfortable fighting for some wheels. So we're going to see if we can look at the dynamic of what's going on. It looks like Kim Lucci now coming up and around for DNA, and all of a sudden we're seeing DNA doing some pace setting.
Yeah, it just seems like kind of the bigger teams are kind of taking their turn at the front to, you know, keep it a little strung out, but, you know, not commit too early to run out of bodies going into the finish.
Lucci is a good pace setter. This is a great role for her. So Lucci there on the front with the tattoos. That is Kim Lucci on the front. Sorry for the graphic, but it's a DNA Pro Cycling on the front. And now we see Work Hard, Be Humble starting to come up and around. And the black helmet and second wheel, number 77, that's going to be Izzy Harden. A little early for this organization, though, for them. I would say that they would benefit by letting the other programs do a little bit of work.
Yeah, but sometimes you just kind of do that effort to get to the front and then kind of float back and find your space rather than kind of work your way through the middle. Sometimes if you have a good teammate, is just to find that moment in time to carry momentum around the outside and then just find yourself at the front and just, again, float back in the middles. But, you know, they definitely can't spend too much time on the front here. They need to kind of coast and then find themselves behind one of the bigger teams. 7
laps to go in our bike race this evening. 7 to go as we come around, and we're going to see a little bit of an acceleration of tempo here. Schneider sisters, though, looking very comfortable there in 3rd and 4th position, while Work Hard, Be Humble sets themselves up, and Harden just need to float, as Daniel was talking about. Let's look for where DNA might be. They're starting to organize with around 3 of them together. Maybe what they have remaining in the field, so they need to be very cautious about how they're using their effort with 7 laps remaining. Again, it's 7 to go here this evening. And Magner on the left side of the screen. Look who's always shadowing Legion. It's going to be the Stars and Stripes of Chloe Patrick continually. But a little bit of herky-jerky there by Legion, but we have 4 together for Legion as they come by us here. That's Ruth Allen for Work Hard, Be Humble out of Georgia. So Ruth Allen, having done a full lap on the front of the field, and now DNA Pro Cycling will come up next to her and perhaps take over this pace.
So yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing so far the last 5 laps, everybody's kind of settled in, finding their teammates. You know, what we haven't seen is Kingdom Elite, and you know, Goldman Sachs is now coming, but you know, is Kingdom Elite setting up for, you know, a 2 to go flyer? You know, just back-to-back attacks, and you know, all you need is a couple seconds and a little bit of hesitation to make something crazy happen. They've gone to the back and sitting in the draft, but one of those small teams that kind of needs to doesn't have a traditional lead out. They don't have the traditional depth or experience to do the lead out that we're seeing from some of the other teams, but back-to-back flyers are not out of the question for that program.
6 laps to go now for our race. 6 to go for our pro women this evening at St. Francis Tulsa Tough Blue Dome Friday night here at Tulsa Tough. We got Blazers back on the front now talking to each other, with Legion trying to line up behind. So clearly Blazers very motivated this evening. And then we have Siniska with the orange shoulders and with the white jersey with the pink stripes. That would be DNA Pro. So like a lot of white helmets out there. So it's a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to go to the jersey identification. Andrea Sear and tucked into the middle there, number 25. Sear with the white blonde hair. Sear is a good finisher. She did a little bit of work in the first quarter of the race. She was proactive in following the middle separations that occurred that looked like they may have had potential to be dangerous, but now she's tucking in. But I would expect her, there she is, she's right in front of Paula Munoz. We've not talked about Paula Munoz at all, Daniel.
Very, very quiet. I mean, we saw in that pre-race interview that she said what she was excited for, first race of the ACC. So, is this the series that she's very much targeting after the replacement from the NCO, kind of processing that, getting the motivation back to come back, and this being her first target race?
Yeah, Paula Munoz, she's an Olympian from Chile, and she has been racing for many years, brings a lot of experience into these programs. So Munoz for the Goldman Sachs program, you see Andrea Sear there. Placing herself, it really is Munoz's job to position herself near Sear. Sear has done the better job positioning. On the front, Kate Seiler for CCB, presented by Levine Law. Looks like we're going to take a look at our Goldman Sachs ETF's team manager here on the sidelines here in neutral pit. She's going to see them make this right-hand turn as they come by, getting on the radio, giving them a little bit of an insight as we're coming into, looks like 6 laps to go. Kate Seiler on the front now. She's looking around. She has a number of teammates in this race that could benefit from this pace setting. Seiler being very proactive throughout the evening. You see the CCB program, they're in the race, but they're pretty far back. I think they need to burn a match or two right now to get themselves up into better position.
Yeah, just a little disorganized. We have first wheel, 8th wheel on the left side, and then 3 of them towards the back. So it's, everybody's kind of doing these individual efforts that isn't necessarily helping the whole, So if all 6 of the riders are at the front, and that one rider's effort would kind of make it all worth it. But you have one at the front, again, 1 8 wheels back, kind of fighting for herself, and then 3 more towards the back.
5 laps to go now, in fact, and big thanks to Quick Trip, more than a gas station. They're the official sponsor of the St. Francis Tulsa Tough live stream. So thank you to Quick Trip for all of your support and allowing us to bring this broadcast to the world over. Thank you for joining us at tulsatough.com or wherever you may be picking up this feed. My name is Gabe Lloyd, and I'm joined by Daniel Holloway here at Friday night at the St. Francis Tulsa Tough. This is Blue Dome, our first of 3 races for the weekend of racing. We're looking at 5 laps to go for our professional women's race, and our professional men's race will come up next. On the front right now in the pink and blue is Kate Seiler for CCB, but we have the programs of Miami Blazers and Legion of Los Angeles patrolling behind. Looks like we got a little bit of a split occurring, and we got riders down.
Big crash.
Big crash.
Jillian Bennett.
Yep. Bennett there, number 74.
Butcher Box, the whole Butcher Box team. Holly Simonson, Kim Lucci, Madeline from Kingdom. No, that's.
It looks like a lot of Kingdom Elite, almost the entire Butcher Box team.
Taylor Cook White.
At 5 laps to go, Daniel, there is no neutral support, I think. I think the pit is now closed because the pit closes at 6 to go. Is that correct?
Yep, yeah. So there should be no more free laps, unfortunately, for these riders.
We're going to look at a replay here really quickly. I'm not sure where we're going to see it, but we're going to see a replay here momentarily. Here is the replay right now. This is turn 8. Where's the touch? On the middle inside, and it just takes out a lot of that field. Almost must have just been a light touch of the wheels. Bikes are all together, but our field is now reduced to just about 15 riders. There it is again, middle of the field. Siniska goes down. A lot of DNA goes down. A few of our Miami Blazers going down. Kingdom Elite suffering from this. Holly Simonson, your Canadian national champion, going down. Aubrey Drummond going down. So our field greatly reduced due to a late race crash. The pit is closed. There is no neutral lap at this point in time with just 4 laps remaining. This is what's left of your professional women's field.
Yeah, and it just looked like the rider on the very inside just was on a bad line, kind of had nowhere to go, and just started it from the inside of that corner and just pushed everything out. So it's typically in those conditions, you know, the bikes have brakes. You got to touch them when you get in those points, and it's part of it for the overall system. Is, you know, the brakes are there to use when you find yourself in those just absolute sticky points. But all the big hitters, for the most part, still be there. Michaela McPherson, Riley McMullen is still there. Daphne Karaganis, Ariel Coy, and now we're at 3 to go.
3 laps to go, you guys. 3 laps remaining, and we're going to look at this one last time. That's Lori Sharp on the inside, elbowing the riders, and it looks like so Sharp on the inside for Legion. Maybe elbow to elbow with somebody. And here's Sharp now on the front with Rathman giving her some communication. But these ladies want to see this tempo increase. With 3 laps to go, Daniel, walk us through now the final sprint scenarios for our teams.
Yeah, now you're just finding that it's going to get faster and faster progressively as the riders get down. So Lori Sharp setting that high tempo. And you had, you know, Salazar just protecting that team from the rider coming up the inside and letting Sharp continue to do her job. And Sharp is going to go basically as hard as she can for as long as she can before Rathbun takes over from here on out. So,
but I'm confused. I'm seeing Skylar Schneider with the gold helmet now on the front. They may have switched up now. Samantha Schneider being the protected rider. They're talking to each other really quickly, and Samantha now perhaps taking over. So Skylar just putting herself into a safe spot in that moment.
Yeah, and just, you know, being a little distracting, causing a little bit of chaos is 2 riders versus the big team, and it's making them, you know, Legion spend more energy just by doing these awkward fights rather than setting a big tempo. And yeah, like we just saw from that previous crash, it's just staying far forward, you know, kind of getting out of the mess and not feeling the pace was high enough for their comfort being back far.
Okay, now I'm looking at Paula Munoz. Looks like she survived through that crash. That's rider number 24. So that's the rider in the Goldman Sachs ETF kit in the midst, right behind Schneider there. So Munoz here with a little bit of dark ponytail hair coming through. Pace car in the way a smidge here, so we can't quite see. There they are. And we're looking at Rathbun, and now look at this. Coy for LA Sweat.
This is 2 to go.
Up. 2 laps to go now, and it looks like they're working for Mariana Valadas on the outside for LA Sweat. This is where our trains start to begin. 2 laps to go here at St. Francis Tulsa Tough Friday Night Blue Dome.
Yeah, and this is just like this. I mean, Ariel's the perfect girl to just set this right tempo. She really knows how to accelerate corner to corner, not overdo it for the depth of their team to drop Daphne off. Ideally, you know, inside a half lap to go, and Ariel's definitely has that ability to make it happen. But we have Michaela McPherson just as kind of a lead out gal, just posting up next to a lead out, which is a really good spot to be rather than tucking behind. You want your sprinter up, you know, sprinter.
We have an anonymous donor contributing $1,000 for tonight's Gambler Preem. Gambler Preem is awarded at the 1 to go. So they ring the bell at 2 to go. At 1 to go, it is awarded $1,000 for the winner of this Gambler Preem. LA Sweat now putting themselves into position to try to get themselves there. This is a little far out there. We're still got a half a lap to go, and our lead-out trains are getting themselves focused on the finale. Looks like LA Sweat, though, wants to get themselves this $1,000 Gambler's Preem from an anonymous donor here tonight for Friday Night Blue Dome.
Yeah, and Valdez seems to just kind of lost the wheel in that little bit of a fight, but now you have McPherson and McMullen in really good position, kind of right there in the middle of the field. Perfect, you know, in that headwind, just being in the perfect armchair ride.
That's Daphne Caraganis, number 39. That's the rider in second position for LA Sweat. It's Coy on the front. Coy comes out of the turn number 8. Can Caraganis get there? This is $1,000 on the line. Coy wants it. Caraganis doing an inverted layup. Can Coy get there? Coy perhaps will get that $1,000 at the line, and Ariel Coy for LA Sweat gets $1,000, and we're now at 1 lap to go.
Yeah, it's, Rathbun, Blazers, Legion. Chloe Patrick making her way up there onto the lead out.
1 lap remaining, 1 to go here. We have ourselves the final kicks. Thanks to American Paint for providing us this drone shot. This is crucial for understanding how these shots are orchestrated. We're back on the ground, though, as we see Rathbun. And there is Magner. Magner screaming at Rathbun to push, as we're seeing speed slowing. This is a little slow for Legion. They generally like this to be full gas. Magner screaming for it to increase as they come into turn number 4.
Yeah, so now we're just getting into the headwind part of it. So this is all out. You need to just, in the headwind, just put your head down, go. There's any moment of lull allows somebody out of position or just behind to carry momentum. And now you just see Michaela just not being any sort of scared of Kendall Ryan leading out Riley.
There it is, out of the saddle, out of turn number 5 and into 6 is Rathbun. This is her final kick because Salazar will now take over behind. You'll see your Olympian behind her take over here any second now, and you see DNA right behind as well with McPherson and McMullen, and we're trying to see this here as we come around our final turns, looking for our race here if we can find it. With few hundred meters to go, we're looking for our pro women's race with the final few laps. Here we are in turn number 8. It looks like Legion of Los Angeles is at the front. Can Kendall kick it to the line as they come out? Kendall Ryan has the advantage. Can she finish it off? And Kendall Ryan asserts herself here tonight, Friday night, Blue Dome at St. Francis, Tulsa Tough.
And Skylar Schneider just right there. Looked like really hectic in those last 2 corners that she might have lost a little bit of momentum to come from behind, but
yeah, Paula Munoz right there, Skylar Schneider right there, but Kendall Ryan takes the win this evening at Friday Night Blue Dome. No controversy this year, Daniel. There are no elbows thrown. She has got herself that race win.
Yeah, no, that was just, no leaving it the chance this year with that lead out, saying we are not going to give anybody the opportunity to go side by side in the last couple of corners.
This looks like our replay for us. All right, we're going to see what we can do here, but great win there by Kendall Ryan. There she is one more time, getting escorted back to the finish line. Here we go, Alexis Magner with the final kick out of the final turn. Magner there, it looks like Skylar Schneider with the gold helmet trying to kick around, but even on the slight uphill, Kendall Ryan just too strong for Skylar Schneider to the line. Schneider looks like she's finishing second with Magner in third after a phenomenal lead out.
Yeah, that was just perfect execution by the Legion ladies to just be at the front, present, use their strength, and then really just turn on the horsepower going into that last lap.
Another look here, and from our American Paint drone, and we have Magner kicking out of turn number 8, and Kendall kicks right out of the turn as quickly as she can. Magner finishing it off just to get herself in that prize money a little bit better. And Skylar Schneider finishing in third, Paula Munoz in fourth this evening. We'll go to the camera to see who finished out in fifth. It looked like Samantha Schneider perhaps got herself up there as well.
Yeah, and we see Paula Munoz come from really far back, just really a lot of gaps forming in front of her going into that last couple of corners. And, that is just where you need Andreas here. That's where you need a teammate in that last couple of laps to just really get you into that final position and not have to come from, try to win from 15 bike lengths back.
All right, well, don't go anywhere, anybody. We have our men's pro race coming up next here for our